Imagine this. Dozens of college-aged men all across the country found drowned in rivers and lakes. The police rule almost every single one the same way: a tragic accident. Too much alcohol, a late-night stumble, case closed. But what if it wasn't an accident? What if they were hunted? Tonight, we're diving deep into a chilling theory that authorities dismiss, but that grieving families refuse to let go of. This is the story of the Smiley face killers. It all started back in the late 1990s. The victims all fit a similar profile. Young men, usually athletic and popular college students, would be out with friends at a bar or a party, then decide to head home alone. Sometimes they'd even text someone to say they were on their way, just a few blocks from safety. Then, they would just vanish into thin air. Hours, or sometimes even days later, their bodies would be discovered in a nearby body of water. Now, it's true that most of them had been drinking. This is where the official story starts to fall apart for some people. In case after case, things just don't add up. Many of the men were found in really difficult-to-reach spots, like behind fences or down steep, muddy riverbanks, not places you'd accidentally wander into. Some were found miles away from where they were last seen, with no explanation for how they got there. And then there's the graffiti. Near several of the locations where bodies were recovered, investigators found a simple, spray-painted smiley face. Just 2 dots for eyes and a little curve for a mouth. A childish doodle, but in this context, it felt like something far more sinister. This is what caught the attention of 2 retired NYPD detectives, Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte. They started connecting the dots and saw a disturbing pattern. They didn't believe these were isolated accidents. They proposed that a coordinated group was targeting these young men. Their theory goes like this. The killers spot a vulnerable, intoxicated young man leaving a bar alone. They abduct him, maybe hold him for a short time, and then stage his death to look like an accidental drowning. The smiley face, they argue, is their calling card, a signature left near the scene for those who know what to look for. It's a terrifying thought, an organized network of killers operating in the shadows for over 2 decades. But law enforcement agencies have overwhelmingly rejected this theory. The FBI even released a statement saying there's no evidence of a nationwide serial killer ring. They argue that smiley face graffiti is incredibly common in cities and has no connection to the deaths. From their perspective, the explanation is much simpler, and statistically, it makes sense. College towns are often built near rivers. Young people drink. Tragically, mixing alcohol with dark, cold water can be a fatal combination. Simple slip can turn deadly in minutes. Still, there are details that are hard to explain away. Why do so many of the victims fit that same specific profile? White, athletic, college-aged males. Why were their phones or wallets often missing, never to be seen again? And how do you explain the surveillance footage from some cases, which shows the victims walking confidently, not stumbling around like they were completely incapacitated? Some toxicology reports even showed alcohol levels that, while high, weren't necessarily high enough to cause a total loss of coordination. These are the questions that keep the families fighting for answers. They've hired their own forensic experts, who have pointed to unexplained injuries or timelines that do and match up with an accidental fall. Why were some bodies found upstream from where they supposedly fell in? How did some men travel miles across town without a single witness seeing them? These inconsistencies are what fuel the suspicion that something else is going on. The theory exploded in popularity around 2008, with documentaries, podcasts, and online forums dissecting every piece of evidence. But there's another possibility that often gets overlooked. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. When we see a series of similar tragedies, our brains automatically try to find a connection, a single cause. It's natural to assume there's a coordinated effort when the victims, locations, and outcomes all look so similar. But sometimes, patterns just happen because the circumstances repeat themselves. So what's the truth? Is there a secret group of killers hiding in plain sight? Or is this all a heartbreaking string of coincidences amplified by our own fear and the power of the internet? The reality is probably less cinematic than a Hollywood thriller, but it could also be darker than we want to imagine. For now, the theory remains just that, a theory. There have been no arrests, no confirmed suspects, and no proven organization. All that's left are dozens of families still searching for closure and that haunting smiley face symbol, spray-painted in the dark corners of our cities. One thing is certain, young men continue to drown under mysterious circumstances, leaving a trail of unanswered questions. And as long as those questions remain, this theory isn't going away. Because unresolved patterns create fear, and fear demands answers. So I want to know what you think. If you believe these are just tragic accidents, comment accident below. But if you think something more sinister is hiding beneath the surface, comment hunted. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow our channel for more deep dives into the stories that ain't meant to disappear.